Nobody talks to you in Dark Souls. There's no party, no companions walking beside you, no voice in your ear telling you what to do next. You just wake up in a dungeon, pick up a sword, and get absolutely destroyed by the first enemy you meet. And somehow, that's what makes it one of the most emotional games ever made. I've been playing Dark Souls for years, and every time I come back to it, I notice the same feeling creeping in. This quiet, heavy kind of loneliness, like you're walking through a world that used to have people in it, and now it's just you. But here's the thing, that feeling isn't a mistake. It's not a side effect. FromSoftware built that loneliness on purpose. Every single design choice in this game was made to make you feel small, isolated, and alone. And today, I want to break down exactly how they did that, and why it hits so differently than any other game out there. Most games are scared of silence. Think about it. In most big games, there's always something happening. A companion cracking a joke, a map full of icons, a quest marker telling you exactly where to go, music playing constantly, NPCs that chat you up every 5 minutes. Games do all of that because silence is uncomfortable. It makes players feel lost. It makes them put the controller down. Dark Souls said, no, let them feel lost. That's the whole point. From the moment you step out of that first cell in the Undead Asylum, the game gives you almost nothing. A broken sword, a shield, and a world that does not care about you at all. And that's where the loneliness starts. But it goes so much deeper than just having no one around. The world itself feels empty, but not abandoned. The first thing you notice in Dark Souls is that Lordran, the world you're exploring, feels like it used to be full of life. There are huge castles with empty halls, cathedrals with no congregation, throne rooms with no king. Everywhere you look, there are signs that people were here, armor left on the ground, fires that someone lit, messages scratched into the floor, but they're all gone now. This is called environmental storytelling, and FromSoftware is probably the best studio in the world at doing it. They don't tell you what happened to this world, they show you the aftermath, and your brain fills in the rest. That gap between what was and what is now, that's where the loneliness lives. It's not like a horror game where the emptiness feels threatening. It's more like walking through a place where something beautiful used to exist, and now it's just ruins. Like finding an old photograph of people you never met. There's a sadness to it that's hard to explain, but you feel it. The NPCs are barely there. Now, Dark Souls does have characters, a few, scattered across the world, usually sitting alone in corners, or standing in places that feel like they gave up moving long ago. Solaire of Astora is probably the most famous one, and if you've played the game, you know exactly why people love him so much. He's warm, he's optimistic, he talks about sunlight like it's the most beautiful thing in the world, and in a game that is mostly gray and dark and cold, that contrast hits really hard. But even Solaire, the most cheerful character in the game, is fundamentally alone. His whole mission is something he's been on by himself for years, and depending on what you do in the game, his story ends in one of the saddest ways I've ever seen in a video game. I won't spoil it, but if you know, you know. The other NPCs aren't much different. Siegmeyer is wandering around looking for adventure and slowly losing his mind. Laurentius is trying to find his purpose and ends up hollow. Patches is a thief with no real home. Even the Firekeeper, the one person who's supposed to be constant in this world, exists in a kind of quiet tragedy. These characters aren't companions. They're more like people you pass on the street who tell you something real about themselves for 2 minutes, and then you never see them again. Or you see them later, and they're worse. That's the other thing. The NPCs in Dark Souls can die. They can go hollow. They can disappear. And the game doesn't warn you. One moment Solaire is waving at you, and then later he might just be gone. And you sit there wondering if it was something you did. That uncertainty, that fragility of every connection in this game makes the loneliness even heavier. You are genuinely actually alone. Here's something that sounds simple, but matters a lot. In Dark Souls, you cannot pause the game. You cannot call for help. You cannot look at a map and see where your friends are. You are the only person trying to do what you're doing. And the lore backs this up completely. You're an undead. Someone who, in this world, has been thrown away. The world locks up its undead in asylums and forgets about them. You escaped, but you're still just an undead wandering through a world that already wrote you off. The chosen undead, that's what they call you, is this idea that maybe, just maybe, you're special enough to break the cycle that's been destroying this world, but nobody believes that, not really. The knight who breaks you out of the asylum, he basically tells you good luck and disappears. The people who send you on the quest, they're hiding behind fog walls and locked doors. You're supposed to save the world, and the world couldn't care less. That setup, being given a mission by people who don't believe in you, in a world that's already dying, creates a specific type of loneliness that's almost philosophical. You're not just physically alone, you're existentially alone. The multiplayer that makes you feel more alone. Now here's the thing that I think people miss when they talk about Dark Souls loneliness. The game actually has multiplayer. You can see other players' ghosts walking through the world. You can read their messages. You can summon them into your game. But this multiplayer was designed in the strangest, most beautiful way possible. The ghosts you see, you can't talk to them. You can barely interact with them. They're just shapes moving through your world, doing their own thing, completely unaware of you. It's like watching people through a window. The messages on the floor, they're left by real people, but they're cryptic. Sometimes helpful, sometimes trolling you off a cliff, but there's no face behind them, no name you'll remember, and even summoning, the closest the game gets to actual co-op, is temporary. Someone comes into your world, helps you kill a boss, and then they're pulled back out, gone, like they were never there. This multiplayer design was intentional. Hidetaka Miyazaki, the director of Dark Souls, talked about this. He wanted people to feel a connection with other players, but not a strong one, a quiet one, a distant one. Like knowing that someone else is out there going through the same thing as you, but you'll never actually be together. That's a feeling most games never try to capture, and Dark Souls nailed it, the bonfires. You can't talk about loneliness in Dark Souls without talking about bonfires. Every time you find a bonfire, you sit down, you rest, you refill your flasks. And for a moment, the game slows down completely. There's no enemy attacking you at a bonfire, nobody is shouting at you, the world gets quiet, and it's just you, sitting by a fire, in the middle of this broken, beautiful, terrible world. I think bonfires are genius game design specifically because of how lonely they make you feel in the best possible way. They're the one moment where you're allowed to breathe, and because everything else in the game is so relentless, so brutal, so unpredictable, that moment of sitting by the fire hits, like coming home after a terrible day. But there's no home, just the fire, just you. And then you stand up and walk back into the dark again. The music, or the lack of it. Something most people don't realize until someone points it out. Dark Souls has almost no background music. Music only kicks in during boss fights. This decision does so much for the feeling of loneliness. When there's no music, your brain starts filling the silence with feeling. I think the reason Dark Souls' loneliness hits so hard is because it's honest. Sometimes life feels like Dark Souls. You work towards something for a long time, and then something kills you, and you lose progress. The loneliness of Dark Souls isn't depressing, it's validating. It says, keep going. FromSoftware built a monument to the human experience of being alone and still moving forward. If you've ever sat by a bonfire in Lordran and just stayed there for a minute before walking back into the dark, you already understand. If this hit different for you, subscribe. There's a lot more Dark Souls coming.